Welcome to Esoteric Thoughts. Today I have the great privilege of welcoming back to the channel Micah Dank, and we're going to do something a bit different today. Micah is actually going to talk us through how he does his decoding. And one of the key things about Micah is he makes astrotheology accessible to people without feeling that we have to go through some form of initiation to actually understand how these celestial decodings are done. So on that note, Micah, over to you.
Okay, this isn't going to be very long. I actually did a video on my channel. For those of you who have met me through ESO, hello. For those of you who are watching ESO through me, how you doing? I just wanted to show you guys. Now, although you're probably without, I've been doing this for 11 years, so you really need to put in your Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hours in to truly understand something. So let me put that through. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you my method. Okay, so let's start with this. Let me see if I could share this. These are the 12 signs. Okay, the first thing you're going to want to do is memorize the stories and the signs and the keywords for Aquarius. So let's go through this real quick. Aquarius, the first sign I talk about is Aquarius, which is represented by the man. Now, technically, Aries begins the year, so I should start there, but I start in Aquarius. It goes back to the story of Zeus and the young boy. That's where Aquarius comes from. And I've gone into that before, so I'm not going to go into that right now. It's irrelevant. But what you need to know is on the right, you see a man with a water pitcher pouring it out. So there's keywords. Son of man, man, because this is the symbol of the man. Aquarius is the sign of the man, whereas Virgo is the symbol of the woman. Baptism. This is how you baptize someone, the picture on the right. Water pitcher, because this is a water pitcher on the right. Fountain. Lots of fountains are built like this. Stream, river, pond, lake, ocean, sea. Water bodies, because there's water in the sign. Now, Aquarius is actually an air sign in astrology. However, because there's water in the sign, okay, it could be used to describe water things. Whereas Pisces is the sign of the two fish in the water. Pisces is actually a mutable water sign. Okay. So whenever you're talking about stream, river, pond, lake, sea, ocean, for example, is Pisces. Okay. Now, Aries is the ram. And in Aries, you have March 21st, which is the spring equinox. It's a 12-hour day. It's a 12-hour night. It's also the Passover. There's 3 different Passovers that happen in Aries. The first is the Jewish Passover, where the angel of death literally passes over the house of all the Jews and the Egyptians that don't have the lamb or the ram. Aries, the ram, that doesn't have the lamb or the ram's blood smeared on their doorposts to identify them as the people of Aries. The firstborn sons get killed. In Christianity, this has changed and it becomes the resurrection of God's son, for Easter is in Aries. Okay. The third one is the astrotheological one. Okay. The third Passover. And that's literally when the sun passes over the equator on March 21st. Okay. So, ram, lamb, shepherd, or ram's horn, you're talking about Aries. Taurus is the bull. When you look at the sky and you see Taurus during the season where it's supposed to be, you know that you need to put the plow on the bull so that you can plant the seeds so you can harvest in Virgo and Libra. So whenever you hear bull, ox, calf, or cow, you're talking about Taurus. Then Gemini is the twins. It's the story of Castor and Pollux Troy, whose sister was Helen of Troy. It's the story of Achilles. This is another Greek story. So whenever you hear twins or brothers, you're talking about Gemini. Cancer is the crab, and it's the sideways moving creature. The crab shuffles side to side like this, whereas we don't, unless SO's at the gym doing a sports trip. That's the only time that you're really doing side to side movement. We don't walk like that. We go forward, we go diagonal, we even go backwards. We don't go side to side unless we're doing a sports drill. The crab does, and it's a significant sideways moving because it applies to Cancer. See, what happens is starting on December 25th, the sun rises a degree on its axis. On December 26th, an additional degree. On the 27th, and so on and so on. Every day, a degree. higher. The days get longer, the nights get shorter. When it hits June 21st, that's its height, that's the summer solstice. It's the longest day of the year, the shortest night of the year. Then what it does is for 3 days, it does not rise an additional degree or lower a degree, but it walks sideways like the crab. It stays at that height. And then on June 25th, it drops a degree. And then it continues to drop a degree every day after. Now the nights are getting longer and the days are getting shorter. Okay. When it hits December 21st, it then walks sideways for 3 days again. And then it comes back to life on December 25th. Okay. So whenever you hear crab or beetle, and the reason beetle is because in the ancient Egyptians, okay, the beetle, the scarab, okay, was actually in place of the crab. See, the Egyptian zodiac had two differences, okay? Number one was the crab, was not the crab, it was the scarab. And number two, instead of the Leo, the lion, it was the Sphinx, which is basically the same thing, okay? So that's Cancer. Now in Leo, Leo's the king. He's a lion. He's the king of the savannah, king of the jungle, whatever you want to call it. The ruling planet of Leo is actually the sun. So when they're talking about the sun being in its rightful place, they're talking about the sun in Leo. The sun rules Leo and only Leo. Okay. Whenever you hear lion, lioness, or cub, you're talking about Leo. Virgo is the woman holding the wheat stalk. So remember before when I said that you plant in Taurus? Well, the virgins would go out and cultivate the wheat in Virgo in order to make the bread for the year. So whenever you hear virgin, wheat, grain, seed, barley, corn, grainy things, all these things are harvested in Virgo. Okay. Now in the ancient Egyptian times, okay, whereas I just told you that Aries was the beginning of our agricultural year because the snow is starting to clear, things are starting to grow. It's the very beginning of our agricultural year. However, in the Egyptian time, Virgo was celebrated as the beginning of the new year because it was harvest season. Okay, that got changed. Okay, but the Egyptians did. Okay, during the Egyptian times. Okay, and maybe even further back than that, to be honest with you, which is why, okay, the new year, the brand new year was in Virgo, which is why a newborn son was birthed from a virgin, birthed from Virgo, because the sun is born in Virgo. Okay. So virgin, wheat, grain, seed, barley, corn. Virgo is the female sign, so woman. Okay. Libra is the justice. It's the scales, it's the balance, it's the just one. The reason it's the justice is because it judges God's sun as it passes over the fall equinox and begins its descent into winter, into cold, into death. Now, Eso, we were just talking about how the sun is celebrated at the Passover when it's being exalted back to its height, its kingdom. But here it's being mourned because what happens is it passes over the equinox and now suddenly it gets cold. Suddenly the sun has to be betrayed, it has to be killed, and it has to rise again. Okay, so all law related things, law, judge, justice, the just one, divorce, marriage, court, all wine related things, because Libra is when you press the wine. Incidentally, Libra and Virgo are neighboring signs. They're connecting signs. Okay, Libra is the Virgo is the bread, Libra is the wine, the bread and the wine, the symbols of Christianity. Okay, so wine, vineyard, wine press. Okay, it's also olive oil season. That's when you press the olives into oil. Okay, and I added this too. I don't know if you knew this, Eso, but the three wise men, they bring frankincense and myrrh. Those are actually both olive plants. Okay, so that ties into the whole Libra thing. Okay, when I get to that eventually, when I start decoding the New Testament, because I'm still in the Old Testament right now, I will get to that. Now, Scorpio is the scorpion, and he is the betrayer. When a scorpion bites you, it leaves an imprint in your skin that looks like a pair of lips, which is where the mafia gets the kiss of death from. Okay, the reason is what happens is a scorpion would bite you in the ancient times, and then you flick it off, and it would look like a pair of lips. Okay, so it looks like the scorpion kissed you, but the kiss is full of poison, so it's a metaphorical betrayal. Okay, so which is why Judas betrays Jesus with a kiss, because he represents Scorpio. Okay, Think about it. He could. How do you identify someone as so? Do you usually identify them with a kiss, even in the ancient times? No. You would have stoned them.
No.
You would have given them a hug. You would have a million different ways tried to point them out. How many ways can you point? But he does it with a kiss because he represents the betrayer. Okay, so the sun is judged in Libra. It's betrayed in Scorpio. Finally, in Sagittarius, this is where the man with the bow and the arrow shoot at the sun, effectively killing it. Why? Because this is on December 21st. Okay, the sun is at its lowest point. It's dead. December 21st is the last day of Sagittarius. Okay, and what happens is, remember how it walks sideways for 3 days? Well, it walks sideways for 3 days here too. And what happens is, okay, December 21st is the winter solstice. It's the longest night of the year. It's the shortest day of the year. And then what happens is the ancients would look out into the horizon and the sun wouldn't even crack the horizon when it crosses. So they would say God's sun was dead. And then suddenly it walks sideways for 3 days because it doesn't rise a degree or lower a degree. So suddenly God's sun was dead for 3 days. Where on December 25th, the birth of every god who was birthed from a virgin comes back to life, okay, and starts to make its way back to the top. It's the hero's journey by Joseph Campbell. Okay, so whenever you hear horse, bow and arrow, spear, or horseman, you're talking about Sagittarius. Finally, if I can get to it, Capricorn, because he's the goat, because he likes to climb the mountain. That's what the goats do. The goats climb the mountain better than anything. But if you look at the zodiac wheel on the right, Capricorn's at the very bottom. So what happens is, imagine the sun on the zodiac wheel climbing a degree every single day, going to the left on its way to its height in Cancer. It starts to climb in Capricorn. Okay? Just like the goats climb the mountain, it starts the great climb up the mountain, the metaphorical mountain in Capricorn. Those are the 12 signs. Those are the stories. Those are the key words. That's the cipher that I've come up with. Okay? Now, there's other things that you should know too. And I've done a presentation with you, Eso. So you'll know that in Cancer, you have a group of stars called the Beehive Cluster. Okay? It's an asterism. It's like the Pleiades. It's a small knit group of stars. It's called the Beehive Cluster. Okay? And the bees produce honey. Okay? So metaphorically, in Cancer, you have the honey. Now in Sagittarius, that's where the Milky Way galaxy is. Okay, and the Milky Way galaxy has been called the Milky Way galaxy, and I've traced it, okay, because I've read the Egyptian Book of the Dead. It's literally called the Milky Way galaxy in the Book of the Dead, which predates religion, okay, which predates Christianity and Judaism, okay. So that's where the milk comes from, the Milky Way galaxy. So your land from Cancer to Sagittarius, that half of the zodiac on the right, that's your land of milk and honey. So there's key things that you need to look into, okay. So that being said, you understand the 12 signs of the zodiac, okay? You understand the 12, you commit this to memory, you read this, you make flashcards if you have to. Then what you do is you're going to, let me see if I could show you. Do you see this constellation? I could see the screen share. Yes, okay, good. All right, then this is the next thing that you do, okay? In 150 AD, Ptolemy, okay, listed the constellations they knew about at the time. See, we know that there's 88 constellations in our neck of the woods. That includes the 12 zodiac signs, the 13th, if you like to include it, Ophiuchus, which I don't always, even though it sometimes comes up. These are the 48 constellations they knew about at the time. They also knew about 7 planets at the time. Okay? They didn't know about Pluto. And the 7 planets, 2 of them included the sun and the moon. Okay, so we have to go with what they knew at the time. However, this list is incomplete. Okay, but this is the 48 galaxies right here that they knew about at the time. Okay, it includes the 12 zodiac signs, the 13th Ophiuchus. So technically it's 35 galaxies aside from that. After you memorize the 12 signs, What you're going to do is you're going to pull this up from Wikipedia, and I hate Wikipedia, but it just happens to have everything right here. Okay, what you're going to do is you're going to go into each one of these constellations. You're going to take a flashcard, okay, or an index card. And what you're going to do is you're going to write the constellation name on the front. And on the back, you're going to write what it is. For example, Draco, right there. Okay, Draco is the dragon. Okay. Let's see if we could find another one. Ursa Minor, that's the, I believe that's the dog. No, that's Canis. Ursa Minor is the bear. Sorry, the bear and the cubs. Okay. You get the idea. You get the idea. What you're going to do is you're going to, on the front of the card, you're going to write the constellation. On the back of the card, you're going to write what it represents. And you're also going to write what constellation in the zodiac it is. Because remember, the zodiac encases us. It's all 12 signs. It completely encases us. We can't look outside the zodiac. Okay? So you have to put these constellations in there. Now, ESO, this is incomplete. Okay? For example, okay, they talk about pigs in the Bible. Well, we know now that the constellation for the pig is a constellation called Porcus. Pork for pig. Porcus. Okay? Now, whether they knew about it then at the time that it was Porcus or it was that particular one is irrelevant, okay? Because Porcus is not listed here in the 48 constellations. However, you're going to tell me that the Chinese, who are just as old, okay, who's has a pig in their zodiac, they knew about the constellation of the pig. So this list is incomplete. But without doing some outstandingly serious research, this is the best that you can do. You can get maybe like 85 to 90% of it done. Okay, so first step, memorize the 12 signs, memorize the keywords. Okay, and the keywords make sense in the sign, right? I'm not giving you something that you can't link without running your mind wild. I'm telling you basically what to do. Then go here, pull up this list. Okay. Front of the card, name of the constellation. Back of the card, what it is. Okay? So, for example, Pisces, fish. Draco, dragon. And then put what sign the constellation's in. Okay? Now, remember, Draco's the dragon, right? So, you remember that in the book of Revelation, they talk about the pregnant woman and the dragon, right? They talk about the pregnant woman and the dragon. Well, they say that the dragon, his tail sweeps a third of the stars out of the sky. Okay. Well, the woman is Virgo. Okay. And Draco is the dragon. Okay. Who's on the left side of the zodiac. The dragon's tail sweeps a third of the stars out of the sky. The tail of Draco goes from Aries to Sagittarius, which is a third of the zodiac. Okay, so when you understand all of this, you could start reading it that way. And that's basically what I do, brother. So I just wanted to give that quick breakdown, just to explain to you how to do it. Obviously, it's more complicated than this, but if you're brand new to this, this is literally as simple as any human can make it.
Micah Dank, thank you for sharing your approach with us. Thank you.